Oh, doing pretty good.
Good.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Where's my...
ridiculous.
Where's my... Did I overlook this chip there like 4 times or what?
Bum, 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 bum.
Right. All right. So, tournament was this weekend. You guys had a good showing, both of you.
Yep.
Ouroboros did all right. You guys
Yep.
walked away with second. Die Sauerkraut had a good showing, though you didn't place. I was pretty pleased with how well your ship hung together. That Vega, your ship really can take a hell of a beating.
Yes.
I was surprised. They just kept putting holes in it, and it just wouldn't stop.
Yeah, it's with ducts. It's very easy to put way too many ducts in the ship and have way too many redundant lines.
So, and then you had 2 different team members, right? You had Beatbreaker was in all of your matches, and Bell was in a couple of your matches, correct?
Yes.
And
actually, in all of them.
Oh, but he was the tripod gunner in one of them.
Yes.
So, and then Beatbreak, they both ran, when they had ships, they both ran the meatball, is what we ended up calling it.
Only Beatbreaker did, except against Ouroboros.
Okay. I like that
There.
little round ship. That looks like a lot of fun to fly.
Yeah. The other one we had was like just we called it the waffle. It had, beams, a few thruster, and 2 rail cannons. No armor.
Oh, that's sort of risky. Hello, Damage. And then Happy, you guys had a great showing.
Yep.
You guys did well, though I was a little surprised at how quickly you guys took a bunch of damage to Seal Club. Like they were not falling for the 1v1s. They kept switching targets and
But we were doing that too. Now, observing these ships, something that was extremely interesting that I hadn't noticed, that was very apparent with Spice Run, is that their ships had a lot of verticality. All of our ships, Praxis, me, Shadow, Barov, Colt, we've got horizontal fighters. Now, what I mean by that is that by all intents and purpose, you can do like a 2D map, and you could follow like my fight with someone else's.
yes.
What they were doing, what was super interesting, is that they kept like this is the new meta fighter, I think. They kept going up down to break that verticality. So my ship being like a super duelist purposed ship, really battled to point up and downwards, and they took full advantage of that. And they also played extremely well. So when you put like both of those together, we got completely wrecked. But man, was it fun!
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that all of your ships, and from being on the receiving end of Praxis probably 100 times, your ships and his ships all give a very, very small profile when facing you. Now, the faraway, let me see, it was Pink Goo, Faraway, Scipion, oh, and I'm missing the last person. Who was the other person on that team? Because there was 4 of them.
Faraway, Scipion,
Pink Goo.
Both?
Nope, Baruf is on
forgot.
Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Nick?
No.
No.
Nope. Nick didn't fight this time. I was a little surprised to see no Nick. Hold on, I got the brackets here. But there's a name that is it Proxymine? Oh, Proxymine was there, and Bentley. So they had 5. So they had 5, And they all kept. So your ships were all designed for essentially single plane fighting, where you guys established a plane and then sort of orbit, and it becomes a slug out face to face. And they kept rotating 45 or 90 degrees on axis, and then trying to get you from the top or the bottom, where your profile is huge. On the ships that you and Xianlu were fighting, the top and bottom profiles of those ships are huge because you've designed them to not be seen from that way. But it was really interesting to watch those fights pan out, where you guys, when the fight would start, I could see you and Praxis and Xianlu or Baruf trying to peel them all apart, trying to get into 1v1s, and they just weren't allowing it.
That was not on purpose. Like, that wasn't initially planned for. I did quite a lot of target switching in opportunistic shots, but I think it's also due to the training. Like, there just are not many people with which you can train, and you just don't train the same way when it's 1v1 or 3v3s. Like, the dynamics of the fight have got absolutely nothing to do with one another.
Excellent. Here, give me 1 second. We might get M Wire and Ace Crystal in here to do some. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. Let me see if I can. They said they both want to be here, so I have to track down Ace Crystal to invite him to the chat. Hold on. Trying to do 6 things at once. This was kind of last minute, so.
No worries.
You know how much fun it is to do stuff last minute in streaming.
I do that all the time, so I kind of.
Let's see. I don't see.
Got used to it.
Yeah, it's just part of the. It's part of the.
Ace the Discord invite already.
Excellent. All right, so now we have to give him the friends role. I think he should be able to talk in here. If I can. M Wire's here, and Ace Crystal I don't see in here yet. Let's see if I can drag. I don't know if I can drag him into the chat, but. M-Wire.
He needs to go into one vocal chat in order for you to drag him into another vocal chat.
Yeah.
If he isn't in a vocal chat to start with, you can't drag him in.
There he is. He's up here. We'll drag him down here. There's M-Wire.
Hello, M-Wire.
Hello.
Hello. We just got to get Ace in here somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know everybody's names. Ace Crystal, that's an easy one. Okay, so he's in here. He just got to jump in the chat. Excellent. How are you doing today, M-Wire?
Doing okay. How about you guys?
Good today. You guys had a fantastic weekend. Everybody.
Indeed.
I instantly fell in love with that ship of yours. At least that I love the details on it, as opposed to Happy's ship was essentially 2 flat pieces of cardboard.
A sandwich.
It looked like an ice cream sandwich. Yes, it did.
With a nasty railgun poking out.
But there was no detail on that. There was none of that awesome stuff that was on Ace Crystal's ships. And M-Wire, you were on the Ace Crystal team, correct?
That is true. We're in the Ace Tech team. Basically, we had the strategy of bringing 1 big ship and 2 tiny ships.
Yeah, oh, that's right, Papa's on that team. Yes, it was fun to see those 2 little ships with you guys had a single rail. I'm trying to remember here without looking at anything. A single rail and a laser. Those ships looks like they would be a ton of fun if you had 15 or a dozen of them. Like, just that would just be so much fun. There were several ships that really, like Spice Rub's ship is also kind of falls into that range with the single rail, though I can't hit anything with a railgun to save my life, so I would be utterly garbage there. But they looked like a lot of fun. Now, if
it's very difficult to use.
Well, not only that, but I think if I'm remembering right, they ran like a single triangle in the back, but you had like 2 triangles pushing upwards. It seemed a strange setup steering wise, but
it is okay. Yes, it is a bit strange, but it is like the thing we kind of had in our head, where you guys like everyone kept building pancake ships, right?
Yep.
So why not just shoot the pancake ship from above? So you have the two thrusters pointing downwards. You fly upwards and then shoot down onto the top of the ship. That's the strategy we had, basically.
Yeah, and it was a good strategy, though there were a
that's-
lot less pancake ships than I was expecting. Let's see. Hello, Ace.
It's ace.
Hello. Hello.
Make sure I'm not missing anybody else that's trying to get in here.
You might need to rename the 2 chats.
I might need 2 chats. What?
Or no. Then you started the stream, so you technically should be in the stream chat.
Oh no, it's fine. This one doesn't require any roles. It's all good. So welcome, Ace. Congratulations on your weekend. You had a good weekend.
Yeah, sure, and also good weeks before that.
Indeed. The building was just as fun.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun. I love that ship of yours. I like the paint in particular. That was a fun ship to watch.
Yeah, I heard you didn't like the
purple thrusters.
yeah.
Of all the things I said, that's what you remember?
It's an acquired taste.
I liked the whole rest of the ship, minus the purple thrusters.
Yeah, the purple. No, normally I wouldn't do something like that, but for some reason I kind of wanted the engine to be like something that stands out. So I was like, we'll make it a special looking engine.
Well, you know, to be honest, to me it looked like a lot of that looked like corroded or oxidized copper, and I was good with the blue, and then the purple thrusters were just those too much. The nozzles, the purple nozzles. Yeah, that was a tick in the wrong, a tick too far for me, but that was a lot of fun. That was the first time I commentated, and as the first tournament I've even watched live, and that was the first time I've commentated anything. So that was a ton of fun on my end, and it was fun to see you guys. I could see the coordination that was working, and I could see the different types of coordination most of the time. Some teams, like when I watched Abominator, and Spice Rub, they just seemed to be 2 solos just beating the hell out of everything. Like
That is exactly how they think.
you can't. There was no strategy there. That just seemed 2 guys that are very good pilots, just doing their thing.
With the first tournament, they got really angry. I think on each other. I'm not sure if it was Abdominator also with him then in the team, but he was really frustrated because they kept bumping in each other, and that way they lost the tournament basically.
Well, last tournament, they were also complaining that they were like this whole meta ship thing, and they were like anti-meta. That's not. So, I mean, the whole thing was honestly a bit of a waste of time.
I gotcha. The meta didn't really show up too much. I mean, obviously there were several. Your team was the most meta for sure.
No. I completely disagree. We were not the most meta. I used meta components, but the fact that we lost against like Pingu, Scipion, I forgot the name of the team.
Seal Club.
Yeah, thank you. They shifted the entire meta. They showed that the meta was ready to go in another direction. With like those ships that were ready to fight in 3D. And like to an extent, I'm realizing now that there were quite a few teams that were doing so. Just happens that Ouroboros was not really up to date on that one.
Yeah, I think this was the first. I would say that this is the first real exposure of the next meta. You know, up to this point, everybody's been working with the meta of flat ships, rail armor on the front. We've switched to lasers. You know, I mean, there was. I think this is the first iteration of the next meta. You know, because you're always chasing the meta, and I think they did an excellent job of looking at what the meta was and realizing where its weaknesses were. And so I think this is the next meta.
It's funny that you say the 3D dimension fighting, because with the first the tournament we already wanted to not go in the main box ship route, and we made the axolotl, which was kind of like very strange, big, and using materials that we didn't have seen any other team use yet. And that ship was supposed to be a 3-dimensional fighter, but then we kind of discovered that you need way more thrust, only specialized in going strafing up and down. Then
Yeah, but that's because it was what, 2 kilotons, 3 kilotons?
it was the 2 kilotons, and we had all these engines under strange angles in the hope that it would give us enough strafe. But it just wasn't enough to really be worth it to focus on 3-dimensional fighting yet. But it was the idea to go 3-dimensional with it.
Yeah.
And then there was Doggo, you know.
Oh, Doggo was
Doggo is all his ships always make me laugh, but he has completely given up on the meta, and he does one directional fighting, and that's where he runs away and shoots backwards. Oh no, I think he takes a 45-degree angle look at the meta, because he's definitely working in meta, but he's also going, I'm working in turrets anyways. Turrets are his thing, and it's so much fun to watch his, because everybody goes, because what was the other ships? Was it Antares? No. Elemental. You know, everybody looked at those ships and went, those guns are on turntables and sliders. That's never going to work. But to be honest, watching those ships, which they didn't perform as well as I assume they had hoped, but there was some really They were very well. They were all.
It didn't work because they didn't armor it enough. The autocannons are not really good against armor in general.
Yep.
And the fighters that they had against them were really armored. So I think it's more of a right solution, wrong application.
Right. When you looked at those guns, that targeting looked spot on. Like there were definitely elements in those ships that you're like, huh. Applied differently, those may work. You know what I mean? Like. There were obvious bonuses to those ships. I saw those ships and I in my head I wrote those off immediately. I was like, those guns are on turntables and they're sticking way out. You know, those are far too exposed. But once I saw them working, I was like, well, that's actually a pretty. There's some elements to that design that are interesting that might need looked into more. It's the same with Doggo's things. You know, they don't always work out as you expect, but there's always something in there. You're like, well, if he gets a hold of this might work eventually. He's going to eventually hammer something out, and he's going to show up at a tournament and just chew through everybody.
That's why I'm saying that Doggo is trying to see if the meta can't be found in different places.
That's why I love Doggo stuff. But it's when you're looking at some of these fights, though, you're like, Doggo was so far left of field at this point, and he knows that. He fights these because he likes fighting these and he likes macing these ships. But
even before the tournament, he was like, "Yeah, this thing is not going to perform."
That's what he said.
Those turrets are very heavy. Like, also, in a 3K tournament, it doesn't really work.
He has this other big ship also, with which the pilot himself will also use C to aim.
Yep.
Which has a turret with a whole bunch of autocannons. That thing is pretty scary actually against smaller ships.
There's
thinking of it, the little ship from Spice Rep also has lasers on the tables. I'm not sure though if they are actually getting used by him. But they are on the turntables.
They're definitely on turntables. When I think my guess would be on his is that they're used for convergence purposes because his accuracy is so good that he's trying to.
It's the wrong orientation of turntable though. Like it's converging like parallel to the points where you're supposed to converge into.
I mean, with convergence, you could also just accept that you're not hitting anything past a kilometer, so you have to converge 700 meters.
Yeah, I don't know what it's for. Oh, it's effective because it obviously is effective, but.
Well, yeah, it is. Basically, I feel like people like Spice Rob who already like have done a lot of time on the same ship. They're just really good at aiming and stuff. Like that kind of gets to the point where the pilot skill is also just as important as. Just in general, the how ship is good. Like, for example, Doggo, in his first tournament, he brought an absolute monster, an 8 railgun ship to the tournament. Like, if he was able to hit all those railguns, he would have won the whole tournament. I'm sure of it. It's just he was really missing a lot of those railguns, which unfortunately kind of felt bad for him.
It's also funny, with the tournament, like, some of my teammates for the second round were like, what? We're having a second round? So I was like, going for like, okay, who could hop in if they didn't show up? And it was like, oh, maybe Dago could come. And yeah, I asked him, he agreed, and I gave him the ship and all that.
Yeah, that's. So here was a question. Were you any of you, have you seen the video that Robo put out? And
Alpha.
Alpha, yes. Yes,
Yes,
Alpha.
I wanted to see what was the difference, but because we fought them twice, right? Yeah.
Did you guys notice the moving crosshairs? Can one of you explain those to me?
Was that an older ship that he had?
I don't know. He had two lateral crosshairs which did not move, but the vertical crosshair, which was a cargo lock beam, was somehow doing, I don't know if it was taking consideration, his inertia or what, but the vertical crosshair was adjusting as he was pitching.
Yeah.
I think his idea was that because his other one, the triangular, right, for the 3 kiloton that did the strafing, or no, not strafe, but had the weapons angled 45 degrees. I think his idea is that he does mostly pitch fighting instead of yaw fighting. And if you do it most in one direction, you'd only need the reticle to adjust in that directions for possibly target lead.
I don't know.
Yes,
It was.
That's what I thought too. His older 45-degree ships that he used on the moon also a lot. I saw him posting videos with the beam indeed moving, and I think it did indeed move with the rotation that he had.
It's interesting. It was just that was the only place I saw it. So I have some particular questions. So let's go with Ace and M-Wire here. What did you do this year that you liked, that worked really well, or some things that didn't work as well and you'll kind of adjust in the future?
Well, I can say the thing that didn't work at all was the tiny ships. The main thing is we didn't have enough training against other players with the ships. So the skill, like basically the maneuvers that we had to do with the small ships to evade enemy fire didn't work out, and we just kind of died, and that left Ace alone to face 3 ships at once, which didn't work out for us.
So
we had a lot of in the first tournament we had the axolotl, which we fought a lot in public places, so everybody knew our axolotl ship and what it could do, kinda. But it did give us a very clear understanding of what the ship could do and what the ship could not do against the people that we would actually fight in the tournament. We did like 60 battles against good praxis and lost like 57 of them, but we won 3, and we started to notice a pattern in how we were able to land hits on them. And that way gave us an insight in strategy that we used in the tournament, and we directly won against them. But this time we thought we had a really good idea with like a really heavy ship and then 2 really small fighters which had rail cannons on them, which do a lot of damage if they start to snipe. And we thought that we needed to protect our strategy, and we went in total vacuum into our own station built on the PTU, and we only trained there against each other with the 3 of us. And that made us live in a vacuum where we had a very good strategy, we thought, but we didn't have confirmation if it would actually work in real life. And we were faced really hard in real life in the tournament that it just didn't work out against the ships.
The team that we fought against was scared by what they saw when they first saw it, like very early on. They saw a small ship with 2 railguns, and they were like, "Yeah, we're going to target that." And that kind of, I think, also contributed to what they brought out in the tournaments, which strategy they also used in the tournaments, which meant that it went the other way around. We thought they'll ignore the small ships, and they went to the small ship first.
I got you. So I want to say hello to Faraway, Pegrin, and Pinkagoo, which have dropped in. So hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello. Let's turn. We can turn Pinku way up. We don't have to hear Pegrin. He didn't do anything. We can turn him down. No, I'm just kidding. All right. All right. Well, hello, you gentlemen. Thank you for showing up. I've never done this before, so we're just asking random questions that are popping up. And I had just asked if you weren't here for that. I talked to Ace Tech there about what they did that did work and what they did that they didn't work that they might change in the future. So I'll do the same thing for you, Happy. What do you think between you and Praxis and Baruf or Xianlu that did work? And what are some of the things that didn't work that you might change moving forward?
Well, very bluntly, Praxis has got a way better level than me, Barov, Colt, and Shenwu that participated. Like, that's just stating the obvious. I do think we're going to be needing a little bit more training in the future. Like, there's definitely things to do. I also, due to like particularly poorly placed family events, didn't really have time to really like recomplete my designs. I wanted to test a laser, a 10 laser, wanted to test an 8 laser, and I also wanted to redo the entire chassis, but I just did not have the time to do so. So I ended up fighting with a ship that's really good at duels, but that's it. And as it became painfully obvious, brawls are not fought the same way as duels at all. Like you need to be very acutely aware of where's everyone, like top down, left, right, front, behind. Like you need a lot of battle awareness. That went reasonably well. I think we only crashed once in the entire tournament because I was making sure, like, communicating, just giving instructions to make sure no one rammed one another.
I think I remember that scene. Yes, it was against us, I think.
It was what, sorry?
I think it was against Sauerkraut, right?
I'm not the one who crashed. It was the other two.
Yes, it was the other two after you took us out.
Yeah, it was a bit embarrassing.
It was like, oh, come on, this should get a foul for just a few minutes.
Oh, and then you had an invisible ship for a little while, Happy?
It was the weirdest thing ever because I did not understand what was going on. I start seeing in the chat, oh, invisible ship, and then like I think it was Pinku that was shooting at me. I was like, what are you talking about? Pinku is like super accurate. I'm taking a hell of a lot of damage. My ship's doing less and less well with every passing second. So I asked for pause. I was like, okay, transfer, tow the ship, and there was like 3 maneuver thrusters. This is ridiculous.
Hey, Happy, how much does Ace-Tech need to pay for it?
The invisible, the cloaking technology.
No, it's like a super secret like YOLO module that turns your ship invisible.
Okay.
It's called Starbase Desync. It's like super proprietary YOLO.
It was super.
Possibly missile tank.
It was.
But hey, honestly,
nor deny that.
But very honestly, like hats down to Pingu, like he was really hammering me down. And if I recall, the only thing he could see was my transponder and my endo moving at high speeds, and that was it.
Yes, from Kai's point of view, he closed in on you, and it was just lasers and an endo. And I think there were bolts. Like you could see the bolts and you could see the endo. But it was the craziest thing. And to be honest, your ship was essentially wrecked. Pinku had wrecked you by that point.
Yeah. No, very honestly, even if Sika had not paused, like for the very legit reasons, Pingu had completely wrecked me. I think that the very moment we caused the pause, I was really battling to turn left or right. So 2 more salvos, I give it like 20, maybe 30 seconds of really big max, being generous here. Seconds of combat, and I would have been toasted.
The other thing that surprised me during that particular match was, I think in the second round, when Good Praxis got one-shotted. His endo got one-shotted.
So, that was a mix of bad luck plus well played. So
I can.
Praxis had bad luck, and Sionclap had the skills to exploit the opportunity. Use the opportunity. Wrong word. Use the opportunity, and he got a railgun shot right in the cockpit. He told us in the chat like that was a legit railgun endo kill.
Which is crazy for his ship has no there's almost nowhere to see his endo. So that was a crazy hit.
I mean, dead center and roughly at the back. Like that's where most of the cockpits are.
Yep.
On these ships. So even by doing a good guesstimate, it's not that difficult to land one right where you need to.
If I got a video of me doing the one shot since the stream didn't get it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because we were just moving around, and then it was like, "Where's Praxis?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm dead." That was.
It was. Yeah. He was standing still at the edge of the rover,
Yep.
and I guess he didn't expect me to come there so quick.
So, all right. Then I'll ask you, Pinku and Faraway, what did you guys do this time that worked exceptionally well? And since you won, I assume you did some things that worked well. And what are some things that didn't work as well as you would have liked, and that you might change moving forward?
Everything went well.
Everything went well.
We didn't lose a single round.
That's true. But yeah, really, I don't know. We just wanted to get behind ships and shoot them in the butt, and it worked.
Yeah, and you guys were the only ones that really embraced the cables and the ramming. The roll cages and the cables were definitely a notable point to your ships.
They should have been better, to be honest. They did pretty bad in the tournament.
Oh, really?
Usually if you ram some with the cables, your ship takes no damage at all. But I think we kind of messed up somewhere.
I got you. Now, is it with those cables? Is it just because it's extending the hitbox, or that damage doesn't transfer down a cable like it does a beam, kind of thing?
It doesn't transfer down to your ship. The collision damage.
Excellent.
For some reason, the cable just fall off.
So they just break off as opposed to like a frame does. Gotcha. Yeah. And yours had both cables and a roll cage on it, did it not?
Yeah.
Excellent. And was it Faraway that finished up that round with a solid, or was it Scipion that finished up with a solid ram?
Which round?
Wasn't it one of the very last rounds? You guys just
At the very end, all three of us shot good practice at the same exact time.
Oh, I gotcha.
Kai didn't get a shot of it, but I think we actually have a video of it from Scipion's perspective in the Twitch chat. Like, he puts it in slow motion, and you see 3 ships fire rails at good practice, and then he just disappears.
Yeah, there was nothing but like the railing armor left at the front of that ship. It was just gone. So,
I believe the round was against A-Stack.
Was it against A-Stack?
Yeah, I remember someone ramming the Higgs right at the end.
Me too.
I was impressed with the A-Stack's your larger ship. That how much damage it was able to sustain, and you still have maneuverability.
Yeah,
it's an extremely durable ship.
A-Stack is not so good in PvP in terms of skills, but we like engineering, and I guess we do make very rigid ships. Like all the systems on the ship and all the yellow code is often redundant multiple times, and also the thrust layout that we already started doing with the first ship, the Axolotl, was also meant to. If you lose basically half of your ship, the other half, because we have backwards thrusters, we still have maneuverability.
Ah, that makes sense. Now, Pegrin is trying to get me to watch a clip here. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see.
Yeah, the
clip.
Enough redundant thrust. See the Sirius. Well, actually, no, that wasn't that redundant.
I'm going to have to go because I've just been called to eat. But yeah, very honestly, out of just like closing note for me, out of the 3 tournaments we had, like that one was by far the most fun I've had. There were fewer bugs, the rules were much simpler, and with the exception of like the first day where everything was like at a snail's pace, the combats themselves were like super fast. You could think, strat, fight. It was just fun. I really enjoyed it.
And we didn't have too much ships flying into each other.
Yeah,
Surprisingly.
Entered the tournament.
That's a good point.
I entered it mostly just, not necessarily to win, just to hopefully add some rules to the rulebook. Hence, the transponder mounted in front of a rail cannon.
Did you do that? I heard about
Yes.
it, but I didn't know. Okay.
You
Yeah.
said like Vega's transponder disappeared because
Oh,
at the start of
yeah.
the round I shot the rail cannons and the transponder was gone.
Oops.
The problem, Vigga, with your ship is that it's big and it looks like a Christmas tree when you fly around. So I think it was only like very limited effect of being discreet.
With that Ouroboros cloaking tech, it might be actually effective.
And oof, that would be lethal. Oh gee.
All right, so let's see.
Yeah, I'll give you like the secret URL file. The password is called please Seeger grant me invisibility, and should work like a charm. Okay, I need to go and eat, guys. I said it once, I'll say it again. It was really fun fighting with you all. I'm really looking forward to the next tournament.
Hold on,
Have fun,
Happy.
guys.
Hey,
Have a nice stream.
Happy. Wait a second. I don't
Sure.
know. Pegrin's
What's
yelling. It's we got to watch the clip. There's a clip here that they want to show.
Okay, I can wait 2 or 3 minutes. There's no problem.
It's up now if you can see the stream.
I'm looking at it.
Stream.
Yeah, Perk's dead. Dude, we got like 3 volleys at the same time on him.
Oh, that's painful.
Ouch.
They are.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a
risking
good
it all.
Oh wow.
Faraway's after Praxis. Oh, I hate my own voice. Scipion's also after Praxis.
If I can reassure you, Farpoint, so do I. My own, I mean, not yours. Just clarify.
I third that.
Okay, nice chatting with you all, guys. See you later. Bye bye, guys.
Have a great night. All right. So I was gonna say, let's see what else came up that was interesting that you guys thought during the tournament that did tournament-wise. What worked from a contestant's end and what was kind of confusing, because there was obviously some issues with vouchers, and there was transponder issues and logging issues. And is there anything that from the tournament side could be done better?
Yes, the rules can be expanded, so no one puts a transponder into front of a railgun.
Okay, fine. Next time I'll put it on a 5-tube missile launcher and eject it.
So there was you guys used a similar, though you didn't lose the transponders. I noticed that you were attempting to confuse transponders by using the same names on all of the transponders. And one of the other teams, the Antares team, tried something similar. Though their ships, I think no transponders would have helped their ships. They were the team that with the little boxes with maneuvering thrusters. So they were hard to see because there was no thruster trails, and they all had matching transponders, but I think they had some hosting issues.
Yeah, we had asked if the mosquitoes, for example, would benefit greatly of not having a transponder because they are so small. But the rules were that you need to have a transponder basically on. But we also were like, well, can we then maybe get rid of it somehow during the fight? But we kind of found it a little bit lame if you do that.
You mean like Vega?
Yeah.
I asked Kai the day before the tournament if it was okay to mount a transponder there, and I clearly explained to him it's in front of railgun and it will get shut off immediately. And he said, yeah, sure.
Okay.
I did ask Kai, can we disable transponder mid-fight, and he was like, nah, I have to change the rules for that.
Just mount it on the front where you're gonna get hit.
He's not disabling it. He is like the
Shooting it down.
opponent
I
team.
mean,
The
it's
opponent
damage,
is
yeah.
disabling it if you mount it on front, and
You're just accelerating the
Manticant
process.
in front of weapon is a gray area. I feel.
It was a gray area.
Yeah.
That's why.
It was a bit of a gray area. So I've never dealt with it from the vouchers end, but that seemed like it's a little cumbersome. I guess is the way to put that. The
No,
whole
but the vouchers are okay. The problem, especially for new players, is that you need to understand how the loading or who takes host of what ship. And I think a few teams had the problem where they didn't fully understand how to do that, and they get like
Elemental.
only one is getting the blueprint and then is getting vouchers and is printing the ships for the other teammates and giving them access to them, but they are still owned by this single player. So if this single player is in the neighborhood, he will take hosting of those ships. And that is also one reason why sharing it to company works, because then the one spawning the ship is the one that takes priority in hosting them.
So is that how you guys managed it without the confusion?
Yes,
Yeah,
that
but
is
you can also have everybody have their own ships printed for themselves, and that will also take priority of host to the one that built it.
Yeah, it was also the one thing I would probably suggest improving is actually check the mass before the round starts, because technically someone could have gone to inspection that just did some minor changes to the ship.
Of course. And then bring 50 torpedoes.
Yes.
No, just
Yes.
like at the travel tank. Like, was that there before, wasn't it? Yeah, who
So
knows?
what about a dry run? You guys don't do a dry run the day before or anything, do you? It's all kind of last second. They'll
You don't want to do dry runs because you can just modify the ships and ask Kai for new vouchers, and
the only dry
Yes.
run thing I would have suggested is new players, so they can at least see how that voucher process
Yes.
works.
Yeah,
That would be the for you guys that have done this a few times. It was obvious to see how quickly an experienced player could get a new ship, as opposed to a new player was really struggling with it. And what are your thoughts on changing ships between rounds? Like, happened quite a bit. And I don't mean pilots like you guys changed teams. That was all fine. But like, Spice Rub switched from rails to lasers at one point, and there were some other changes within. I think a Dominator switched ships a couple of times. Do you think that makes a difference at all?
I think it definitely adds the element of surprise.
Yes.
Yeah,
I feel it makes it more lively.
I know I need to because I accidentally printed a ship that like spin out control.
Oh, that's right. You had
Yeah.
you had some issues, and I think Scipion at one point he flew out and had to fly a ship back and switch it out for something. But it was so it was I just kind of meant this stuff, like how I don't know how Kai goes about checking the ships to make sure they fit within the rules that he has set up. But
you go outside it's mostly just mass. That's the main rule. It's to go outside the safe zone and try to pick it up, see what the mass is, and add it up.
okay, so that's really all that he does is try and that makes sense. So
yeah, there is possibly ways one could cheat that with torpedoes, but I can neither confirm nor deny I haven't done that.
and were there any other struggles that you guys had during the tournament that you would like to see remedied? Now, I'm not part of this at all, but I figured we could forward this all to Kai. Anything that comes up in these sort of discussions.
Ban the cables.
What?
Yeah, I agree.
Ban the cables.
There need to be a limit to some of the abusing systems in the game. Basically.
We only killed 2 people with cables, and even then, they still wrecked my ship.
So you think no more cable cages?
Well, there needs to be a limit on it. Like we kind of were like, should we also have the mosquitoes have wires that fill the whole SSC, like the full build area, and have them just fly around and ram into people? But we kind of were like, we're not gonna do that because it's just so lame to have.
You should have.
You should have.
It's called unfair advantage.
Well, it's not unfair if you all have the same advantage, but
Yes, but
it-
you were
it-
the only one to think of it.
well, that doesn't make it unfair. That makes them clever. Now,
Yes.
that being said, do you think that now that the cables have shown or been considered, I'm not going to call it a cheat because it's not a cheat, but it's kind of an edge case scenario. Do you think cables should be eliminated in those sorts of designs?
I just think they should be limited to how far you can go.
Okay. Now, but we just talked about there's no real checking of a ship before essentially the tournament starts. And that is certainly going to slow things down if the entire SEAL club comes out and their cables are too long and now they have to go back and change. You know what I mean?
You need to basically count every cable segment to see if it's over
Right.
15, for example. That's not doable either.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
It takes a while.
there's definitely a just a difficulty there of trying to say.
Yeah, but I do find it difficult also because in the past you had ratings that stuck out on ships to do the same thing, but for some reason I kind of did find them ugly looking and kind of lame, but they were adding weight to your ship in a way that you cannot keep doing that, and it also starts to become very weak if you make it pretty long. As far as I know, but you're like sacrificing something on your ship to do it, and with wires it's like so light, and you
It's
can make it
basically free.
so long. It's basically free, and you can
It's the
like
oh.
if you just wanna take full advantage, and this was a full out hate war against each other, we would have directly like spammed the whole SSC full, like get out a capital ship with a maximum size hangar, fill the whole hangar with railings, and then put your ship in the middle, and you would have just had this flying blob flying
just
around the
run into
tournament.
cable limits at some point.
Yeah.
So Pinku and Faraway, what are your thoughts on that? Being that you're the team that utilize as far as I'm concerned, it was within the concept of the rules. But moving forward, do you think they should still allow cables?
Yes.
So, cables don't work without roll cages if they're directly connected to your ship. It's basically just your ship ramming into another ship. So, whatever Ace Crystal is saying doesn't exactly work unless they have a roll cage around their ship. And even then, it can still go straight through because of how Starbase works. So, I mean, you still have to sacrifice the fact you have a gigantic roll cage around your ship, which is weight. So,
It really just depends on how many like if they get long enough, then they don't affect your ship because of how durability works. But like if they're too short, then they still like ram into your ship, so you need a roll cage.
Oh, I got you.
But I think the main reason why we use them is to just help with desync, because we get bad desync against people.
Right,
from all around the
Pegrin
world.
was talking about that, how they can, they increase his explanation was that they increase essentially the hitbox of your ship, which makes all those calculations happen just a moment sooner, so desync is less likely.
Yeah.
It has to calculate the trajectory of the bullet better, basically. I heard that.
Yeah, my understanding was like when it does the calculation, if it's too close to the ship, then it can pass through the ship and you get the desync damage. Correct? Is that the way with ammunition works? If the calculation happens too late, by the time it renders the ammunition, it's inside your ship. So those cables increase the range at which that calculation happens.
I would actually have to disagree with that kind of statement because the bullet renders as soon as it's being fired from the enemy. Like what? Maybe this was an issue earlier, but it isn't an issue now. Maybe it is something about to do with the LOD, because we did find some with Ace when we were fighting the PTU. We found that when you're shooting the enemy's LOD, it can also be like a bit different to what you're actually firing at. Yeah. So sometimes you see your ship being hit, but actually the LOD that the enemy player was targeting didn't get hit, so you don't get damage.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
Trigger actually talked about that you should not fight if it's critical. Don't fight with ships you repaired because the LOD is sometimes different, and your pilot might actually be exposed in the LOD when he's technically beneath a few sheets of glass.
Yeah, but then how do
Oh.
the cables change that? Like,
Let me.
So that's
Okay.
a different
Let me
LOD
just-
shenanigans.
So I don't know. We used them back when LOD was a big issue in like desync, and so they're from a while ago. We haven't used them in a bit, but I mean, just like from talking from experience, it just feels like there's less desync. Maybe it's just placebo, but
probably.
I have not been desynced ever when I'm using those cables.
Gotcha.
Um,
Interesting,
Well,
interesting,
if you
interesting.
use it in next tournaments, we're hoping you're not going to use it to ram directly in an assault, because
no
that's
problem.
kind of
Yeah,
that's the deduction we've made, that you use them to ram, like especially Ace. He got rammed like 3 times by that cable ship, and that's 3 times too many to be an accident.
No promises.
Well,
Mhm.
I mean, but does the cables mitigate ramming damage, or is that the point of the cables, is to mitigate
Yes.
ramming damage, or at
That's
least?
the point. Like Alpha's team lost against Spice Rob because of collision damage. If you haven't seen it,
Well,
because collision damage is so much more devastating than weapons.
Yeah.
We had on
This
the
would technically
counterplate-
also be is devastating, but no one uses them.
on the cargo crate before the weekend before, we also went up against Pingu and we got like demolished by ramming from him there too.
Mhm.
and I imagine those little ships can't take any sort of ramming. They can't survive much ramming at all.
Even large ships, like it doesn't matter how big your ship is, ramming is deadly. Like it removes the armor, then you have holes in your ship that can be shot through.
Yeah.
It kind of I'm not 100% sure yet what exactly takes it into account, because I have had some anti-collision damage on mining ships for moon mining, and that works like really well, and also on asteroid mining. But against players, the collision damage seems to be different than when you go against a non-player object. But if you go against asteroids and the surface, it basically deletes 25 nearest objects that are attached. And if you go very hard, it can even break beams. And as far as I understood, it doesn't follow really beams, but it makes like a sphere in which it calculates which objects are the lowest value, and it like removes them off your ship.
Look for Fearful One that has like. Actually, no, that's the one I scrapped to the capture.
All
And we
right.
tried that with collisions against players, but they seem to be a little bit different than against moon surface, for example. But
The
they
arguments.
do massive amount of damage.
Yeah, with the collision damage on at least my ship, I actually tried to mitigate it a little bit. It's like one front-end collision has enough stuff between it beam-wise that the shockwave doesn't propagate to the other side, so I only lose half, like a quarter of the ship.
That was yeah, it was an interesting, and then I think the only real collisions, unintentional collisions, were Abdominator and Spice Rub came together at one point and lost their first
yeah.
round.
That was funny.
Oh,
The classic
Oh.
ones to
yeah.
But
That was
luckily, Kai talked about he wanting to put effort into finding out if he can reduce the damage from ramming.
oh
That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
oh I got you. He actually wants to engine side or server side wants to reduce.
Yes, he wants to try to find the code in which it is calculated and try and see if he can reduce the amount of damage you get.
The other kind of humorous thing that happened was at the beginning of the elemental fight when the 2 elemental pilots rammed into each other.
I was like, was it that time I called time because they took longer than the 5 minutes Kai said?
No, well, it was
Yeah.
titanium and chromium. They were
it's like-
getting in position and they rammed one
No,
another.
They hadn't even Oh yeah, when they got.
They were just sitting up there and they were just trying to move around and they just got each other. And those ships, they were like,
Because
I
they
think he
forgot
said
the
they were only.
transponders.
Well, I don't know what it was. I don't know what
I
the.
think you guys just
They
don't like
forgot the
cables.
transponders, so when the
'cause
fight actually started, they got
they don't look
confused and shot at the
aesthetically
wrong
pleasing.
wreck first. That's why I went way to the side. So they didn't see their ships.
Yeah, it was an interest, and their ships seemed pretty fragile as far
They
as
were like
ramming concerned. They're
They
500.
were half.
Yeah, they were only half size.
Yes, it was like half a K per ship, so it's like their total mass was 1K.
And far away, I thought your guys' ships looked amazing, with especially in
Yes.
LOD. The spikes
I
in
liked-
LOD were.
I really like Scipien's ship with the beaming around it. That
Oh,
that
yeah,
one
Bentley made
looked
that.
really nice.
That was Bentley's.
Bentley's
yeah.
ship?
Yeah, it was. I didn't mind the cables, especially in LOD. It was pretty funny because it was trying to make triangles to the tips of those, and it was made some pretty amazing spikes. What was the other ship that I only saw once? Was it Proxy Mind's ship with the googly eyes? I like that one. I like the googly eyes. But I mean, tournament ships aren't always. I guess it depends. A lot of the tournament ships were pretty plain, and then there was the other ones like Ace Crystal ships and Spice Rub ships. I liked his. And then wait a second, was it Pinku? Yours with the prayer on the front of it?
No, I was not the front toward enemy on the front.
No, he had like a prayer to Kai. Kai's prayer on the front of it. Yeah, it was pretty good. And Spice Rub said this path is the path of chest hair or something, or this path takes chest hair. I like that.
The one motto I put on my ship was to kiss your ass goodbye. Put it on the
I think it
bottom.
was the other way around.
Yeah, kiss my ass goodbye.
Well, the worst part about it was I accidentally placed the decal right beneath the seat.
That's
Like actually below the seat.
yeah, that's pretty funny.
Where it says ass.
There was some good slogans, a lot of smack talk that didn't really work out. But I
The
and then
front toward enemy is also.
and the
good.
other ship that had a really good showing was the Bob Fighter. Like it showed up several times and it had a very good showing. Which it seemed to be kind of middle of the